If you are a multi-passionate girl boss who wants to create, write, teach, learn, connect, and take time for herself and her family and friends, you are listening to the right pod. Hi, I'm Lauren Jean, your go-to podcast resource girl and self and business development freak. I love everything related to development, as well as focusing on self-confidence, letting go of control, and following your intuition. All right, let's get down to the good stuff. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I am Lauren Jean, your host, and today I have on the line, and tell me if I pronounce your name wrong again, because I just might, Teliah. Teliah.
Or just Tay. You can just call me Tay.
Oh, you should have told me that in the beginning. All right, so today I have on the line Tay. Tay is a wife and an entrepreneur, having over just 4 businesses. Wow, by the way, including being part of the Balancing Act podcast. She loves every opportunity, challenge, and growth moment that comes along with being an employer and working alongside her husband, Kylon, which is also an awesome name, by the way. She loves teaching yoga at her studio and for her private clients, and looks forward to building their dream home in the mountains of beautiful Washington State, which is very soon, so she can snowboard and work from home every single day. I love that. That is an awesome bio, by the way. Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, I also love the name of, I want you to, before we go into what we're actually going to talk about, tell me a little bit about your podcast called the Balancing Act Podcast. Let us know a little bit about what your show is about.
Sure. So the Balancing Act Podcast is an interview-based show. So I interview women entrepreneurs who are either wives or moms or used to be, I think I had somebody on there who used to be a wife. And we just talk about kind of what their home life is and what their business life is, and just the importance of balancing those two and how they find success in balancing those two.
Oh, awesome. That is a great show. That's, I think, something that a lot of people, if not everyone, needs.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, definitely. So let's get right into the meat of this, because I know people who are listening to this, they are new, or they might be someone who is looking to start a podcast and just wants to get some information because they're not quite sure yet. So tell us why you got started with your podcast, and then after that, what your goals are for your podcast to achieve for you.
Sure. So I started the podcast about 5 months ago. So I'm still pretty new to it as well. But I started it mainly because like I said before, I love everything that I do. I love being a wife. I love being an employer. I love all of the different aspects of my life. And I do find that it's kind of a balancing act. It's constantly morphing and changing. The balance is anyways, or the concept of balance is always changing depending on what season of life you're in. But I really think that is important and really essential to find success in each of the areas, because you could focus so much on your business life and your family life kind of goes to crap, or vice versa. And so being able to balance those two so that you can find success in each of those areas. So that was something that was really important to me. And I was having a hard time finding other women who were in support of that or who were doing that. And so I figured if I'm having a hard time finding those women, I imagine that other women are having a hard time finding those women as well, to motivate them or encourage them. And so I figured, okay, what's the best way to talk to an audience about the importance of this, but also share stories of other women who are doing this to encourage and to inspire these however many women listen to the show. And so that was kind of my reasoning behind starting the podcast and why it got started, basically. And right now my goals have just been focusing on getting on as many platforms as possible to reach more people. Like, we've found a steady growth in downloads since I started, but now I just want to see that continue to grow. And so I've honestly, my goals for this whole last week have just been putting the podcast on so many more platforms that I just didn't even know about, that I've just been reaching out to people and saying, what podcast or what platform do you have your podcast on? And is this something that I can connect to my Libsyn so that I get the downloads, or so I can track my downloads? And if there are people out there who haven't started a podcast yet, that's like a hosting site so that you can track your downloads and everything like that. So that's been my goal as of right now, is just to really increase my audience, increase the amount of people that are listening to the show, as well as just reaching out to as many women entrepreneurs as I can to get on the show. Like I just hit like a huge spike, and I think I'm scheduled all the way out until like April or May.
Oh, wow. Nice.
I know. It was insane. It was just like, it felt like it was kind of all at once. They just kind of all were like, I want to be on your show. And I'm scheduled out to like April or May, and just back-to-back interviews most days. And yeah, so it's a little crazy, but that's been my goal, is to just really see it grow. And that's kind of my goal for the whole first year. I started in September. And so I've given myself a time limit, or kind of put a limit on I guess it's not a limit, but I've put a date to my goal of like reaching a certain amount of downloads a month within the first year. And so that's really like my biggest goal, is just getting on as many platforms, reaching out to as many people as I can, just getting the word out, and really creating this community of support for women entrepreneurs.
I love that. I definitely love that. Can you share with us some of the platforms that you are on? Just because I want people to understand that there's more than just iTunes, because I think a lot of people who go into it don't realize that there's so many other platforms that you can get on. I'm on a bunch, and I know I'm looking to even expand, but I didn't in the beginning because it was so overwhelming just learning the process. But then, I love that idea of you just trying to get on as many. So can you just share with us some of the ones that you're on?
Well, yeah, I totally resonate with that. I mean, this is something that I didn't even start doing, like getting on multiple platforms, until last week. And I've been going for like 5 months, and it's because it is overwhelming. And so I think at the beginning I was just on iTunes and Podbean, and that's like the Android equivalent of iTunes. And this last week I got on Google Play, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, TuneIn. That's an app. There was another one. There's a lot out there. It's not just iTunes or Podbean, like the Android equivalent. There's so many platforms that you can put your podcast on. And I'm not kidding you. I put it on Google Play and iHeartRadio, because those two are kind of connected, I think. No, Spreaker and iHeartRadio. Those are the two that are connected. So I looked at my downloads. Yeah, I looked at my downloads for that day through Libsyn, and I signed up for that. And I'm not kidding you. Like, it jumped up 30 downloads in a matter of like 5 or 10 minutes.
Isn't it amazing what you can do with all different platforms? I suggest, if you haven't tried yet, YouTube, because I just started doing that one recently. That is in Libsyn, and it's amazing. And then also what it does, you have the option to, it says video, but it's not a video. So what it does is it will show whatever artwork you're using for that particular show, and it will just have the play button in the middle. So people who go to YouTube, they can also, you can have a channel on YouTube with your podcast, which is pretty awesome.
Oh my gosh. And that goes, and that's connected through Libsyn too?
It's connected through Libsyn, and you can also set it up to go to your personal page. I think also if you have a business page on Facebook, I don't think they do groups yet, but that's another thing. And because YouTube is so big, I highly suggest you try that one too, because it's such a simple thing to do. You just go to Libsyn, go to the directories, and look for YouTube and hook yourself up.
Oh my gosh, I'm going to do that today.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And I want to touch on what you're doing to reach out to women entrepreneurs to get on more podcasts. That is something that I suggest to people when they're starting out as part of their launch process. So what you're doing is just like spot on, because you're still a new podcaster. So you're still kind of in like the launch phase, because your show is still new within a year. And this is a great way to ramp yourself up to then go on to bigger and better things in the following year. I didn't know any of this stuff in the beginning because I didn't have a platform. I didn't have a community and any of that stuff. So I was kind of backed up on that. And I started in 2015, where the stuff wasn't like readily available, and it just wasn't in my head. I didn't have the knowledge to just say, hey, let me reach out to these people. I just didn't think of that. So it was basically me on my own. But yeah, reaching out to people, it's amazing. It really is.
And I mean, you're going to get people that say no, and that's fine. I think when I was first starting to reach out to people, I had to get like that first no to kind of get over it. So you're like, it's nerve-wracking. You're reaching out to people you don't know. I get it. It's scary, but it was kind of, once I got that first no or like not right now, I was like, oh, that wasn't so hard. Okay. Like, let's keep going.
Yeah.
Like,
Exactly.
that's literally the worst that they can do is just say no or not right now. Like, that's not hurting you in any way. It's not hurting the podcast in any way. It's just, it's not right now. And you're like, all right, cool. And then maybe whenever you're bigger, or you've got a bigger following, because I know some guests, they require a certain amount of following. And like, I get that their time is valuable. And so it's okay. Well, I'll reach back out to you whenever I've got that following you require. So
yeah, exactly. It takes time, but consistency for me is the biggest thing. Just stay consistent, stay excited, and just keep doing what you're doing.
Oh, definitely. At the beginning, I have reminders in my phone for like everything because I have so much going on. I mean, I've got the 4 businesses that you mentioned. So I've like got reminders and lists on list like everywhere. And so it was like 4:00 or I think it was 3:00 every day when I first started. I had in there as a little reminder on my phone to reach out to at least 5 people that day. Like, just reach out to 5 people today. Like, that's all you have to do. And it was an everyday thing when I first started. And now it's like once a week or something like that. But that was really helpful. It kind of just got me into the mindset of just reaching out to people and talking to people about it. Because like I said, it was scary at first. So.
It's very scary at first. And like you said, you just got to keep getting those no's. And if you get yeses, it makes you even more excited. But also don't overwhelm yourself with all those yeses, because I've done that before. I've put out just posts looking for guests or wanting to be a guest on a show.
Yeah.
And then you get like 15 or 20 yeses and you're like, oh my God, how am I going to do this all? But you know, that's the way you can bulk up for the next couple of months. People aren't looking to be interviewed or interview you instantly. So it's a good way to plan your weeks and your months out. And it's great.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. And it'll get to that point because I've done that many times. And I'm like, oh shit, I've got so much to do. How am I going to do this? You know? And that's
pretty sure that was me like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. It gets overwhelming, but it's exciting at the same time because you realize that there are people out there who are excited to share what they have. Yeah. And it's like you're never going to run out of content. That's what people are afraid of, running out of content. No, it's not going to happen. It's just not.
Yeah, it's not. And that's a really cool feeling for people to like at least trust you enough or, you know, believe in whatever it is that you're talking about enough to want to talk with you about it and to share their story. That's a really neat feeling.
Yeah. People love to talk about themselves too. They really do.
They really do.
It gives us a high. We just love to talk, even if we're a quiet one. Like a introvert like myself, I just love to talk. So it's a different kind of feeling. It's a different kind of feeling. So reaching out to people, that was definitely one of your challenges. Did you have any other challenges in like getting your podcast going in the initial phases of you actually putting it together before it was launched? What types of things did you go through that you can remember that might help someone? Yeah,
I think the biggest thing is I would get caught up on a lot of the details of it, which details are important. Don't get me wrong. I firmly believe in being prepared and creating a plan. But honestly, if I had to do it all over again, I would just start talking to people. Like, if you really believe in the content that you're sharing or the content that you're going to be talking about with somebody, put it out there. Somebody is going to hear it and somebody's going to resonate with it. And that's more important than, oh, is this the right kind of font that I should use for, you know? Like, yeah, exactly. I don't really like that font, you know? And I would get caught up on little stuff like that instead of just focusing on just throw the content out there. I mean, podcasting is still so very new. Like, really, the way that they have it, like, you can't even track how many subscribers you have, like, on iTunes and stuff. At least not that I've found yet. I don't know. You might have found something, but
not yet. That's why I have the group.
Yeah, it's still so new that I think I just wouldn't have gotten so caught up on those little things and just done it, you know, just throw the content out there, see if people want to hear it, if they like it, if, you know, and then just adapt and change and tweak from there. There was one thing that I did that was actually really frustrating. And I like panicked a little bit because I launched and I don't know I have no idea why. My husband also has a podcast and his launch went like perfectly. And I did exactly what he did. But so I put it all out on my social media, all of that stuff. And none of my episodes showed up on iTunes.
Oh, wow.
None of them. I was like, okay, at least they would show up on like the computer side of things. So if I would go on to iTunes on my computer, they would be there. But on my phone, like on the podcast app, it would not show up. Like nothing. It was just not there. And so I was like, sweet. So I just sent out to everyone, my podcast launched, it's here. And they have no way of listening to it. I have no idea why. I like emailed iTunes like crazy. And then it was just like, I don't know, I think it was probably like 5 hours later that day. They just were all of a sudden there.
Yeah, sometimes it's a little bit of a lag, I've noticed with certain shows. So, and especially I think if you're launching a bunch of them with a bunch of episodes, it might take a while for it to actually show up.
Yeah.
And I have heard that before. I definitely have heard that before. But then it's just like, I feel like we're so excited that we just want it now. We just want it now. Like, we don't want to wait for anything because it's excitement. We've done all of the work. We've put it up. We've gotten accepted. And it's like, okay, now I have to wait to see if they're going to show up. It's like torture. It's like torture.
Yeah. So if I had to go back and change anything, I would have made sure that they were showing up before posting everywhere and sending out emails that I had launched. And you can go listen to it now because they couldn't go listen to it now.
Oh my God. I can feel that. I can definitely feel that. That's like, oh.
Yeah, I was like panicking. I was like, babe, why are my episodes not showing up? Like yours went perfectly. I did exactly what you did. Why are they not here? And he was like, I don't know, like email them, try calling. And I'm like, this sucks.
Yeah. It's all these fun little challenges. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I hear you. I definitely hear you. Oh my God. Well, thank you for so much of this fun information and I love just chatting with other podcasters and you're a new one. So I love that too. Definitely love that. I'm just wondering if you could leave the listeners with just one piece of advice, if they are a new podcaster, someone who wants to start their own show, what would that be?
I think it would be what I said before. If you really believe in the content that you're putting out, if you really think that you have value to share to somebody, even if it's just one person, don't get caught up in all the details. All of those will fall into place. Definitely have a plan. Like I said, outline it all, but really just put your voice out there. People want to hear what you have to say. And most oftentimes people need to hear what you have to say. So,
yeah, definitely. That's a great piece of advice. Thank you so much for doing this, for willing to be on the show. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, me too.
I can't wait to listen to your show as well.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for being here. I hope you got tons of useful information out of the show today. If you want to grab the resources and links that you have heard in the show, you can go to the blogcast section on my website at thelaurenjean.com. Or if you just want to listen to the pretty pod player, you can check out the podcast tab on the website. Again, that's www.thelaurenjean.com. Talk to you guys next week.